Hello, it's Friday the 21st of March. We've had winter and fool's spring, so the meme goes. So we're now it's spring of deception. The weather is warm in Oxford. And coming up is the third winter. Round the corner is winter. Well, ironically, in this moment of history, we have talks of peace between Russia and Ukraine. Is that a spring of deception? And a breakdown of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Is that a third winter? Welcome to the Internet Seriously, a humorous look at tech, news and politics. I'm Lucian Taylor in Oxford.
I'm Emily Taylor in Oxford.
I'm Alice Taylor, also in Oxford.
Yay, it's the Taylors. Yes, thank you. We were trying to think, who does that emulate? Is that I was thinking of the Nolan sisters, but they're just sisters where they had different generations. Yeah. But you mentioned the Partridge family.
I think we're the internet's
to me,
answer
it's like
to the Partridge family.
Yes.
Succession. Nice dark twist there from Alice.
What's her name? Is it you?
Are you
Shiv?
You're
Shiv. Perfect. Yeah.
Alice is Shiv. That makes me Ken.
You're the dad.
You're the dad.
I'm the dad. Of course, I'm the dad. Anyway, coming up today, Friday the 21st of March, Heathrow is broken. A fire in a power substation 7 miles away is disrupting 1,300 flights today. We ask, where was the backup? Next, this week on the BBC's World Service programme, The Fifth Floor, they discussed the shocking idea of going on holiday without your phone. What do we think? And the TV series Adolescence shines a light on online misogyny and the manosphere's impact on British teenagers. Keir Starmer's been talking about it. So do we. This is crazy. Before we talk about Heathrow, please hit subscribe to this channel and hit follow on Apple Podcasts and rate and review us if you like. We need you. Thanks very much. So, Emily, Heathrow is broken. We were going to talk about roadblocks and all sorts of things today, but actually we woke up...
Information integrity.
Yeah, that's right. We woke up this morning and we've got a big conference coming up, the Global Signal Exchange Global Anti-Scam Alliance conference in London early next week. People are flying in from all around the world. How are they going to get here?
Well, I think they might go via Reykjavik, which has been what many people have had to endure today, because Heathrow is completely closed today because of a fire in an electricity substation, I think in Hayes. And
that's an area 7 miles away. Basically, they've got a building. I mean, if ever I see substations, they usually look like the size of this office building that we're in. And nobody ever really knows what's happening, but there's a big hum from them and do not go in danger of electric shock.
Yes, so that's where it turns out the only place where Heathrow gets all of its electricity from.
Alice, the government lists these sort of assets and services as critical national infrastructure. There's certain parts of the technology, there may be sort of electricity, water, gas, hospitals, and they regard Heathrow as critical national infrastructure. What do you think that means?
Critical national infrastructure. I'm assuming it means if it goes wrong, we're screwed.
Right. Yes. So let's sort of break down this analogy. We've got this airport. Let's imagine that this airport is a nice sort of great big piece of Lego, and you've got lots of little lights in it, and that's what makes the runway in the dark, and that's what services all the security systems, and more critically, the computer systems that decide when you can land your plane and when you can take off your plane. So pretty sophisticated stuff, even for a Lego model, that is.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you've got one plug.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
But
the whole of Heathrow.
I've been doing a little bit of just sort of international comparators. What's normal?
Yes.
I mean, because obviously it's easy to be wise after the event. I've looked at the pictures from the electricity substation in question. It is in big flames. It's a major fire.
I hear there's 70 fire and rescue service vehicles on site right now.
Yes, so it's
and 150 people have been evacuated from nearby locations. So it's obviously not just, a bin fire, is it?
It's not. It seems like a major fire. However, one of the recommendations from the US Government Accountability Office in the United States in 2023 was that airports should have redundant electricity supply so that they could withstand and recover rapidly from electrical power disruptions. And they did a survey. They found that only 4 airports of the ones that they surveyed over 30, had reported installing microgrids, which are capable of independently generating, distributing and storing power. LAX is installing an electrical...
That's Los Angeles Airport,
Thank you. Yeah, is installing an electrical redundancy project. Dubai Airport has 3 substations. That's sort of, so if they're...
maybe there's a link here between sort of doing it and money.
And I've been going, what are the busiest airports in the world? Clearly Heathrow, second busiest airport in the world. Frankfurt, very busy airport, actually had a power supply cut by a dormouse in 2024, which ate through one of the cables in a substation. Unfortunately, the dormouse didn't make it.
I was going to ask, was the mouse okay?
The mouse was found dead at the scene. And this resulted in a major incident at Frankfurt where there were 11 flight cancellations.
Right.
Okay. You see what I'm saying
yes,
here?
I do. And this is off the back of also a series of British Airways farcical outages where basically their flight patterns and their flight landing software has got stalled and they didn't have enough service engineers and things. I mean, as an engineer, it's an anathema to me that such a major operation. We're told all the time with servers and rack servers and hardware supplies, you have to have redundant power supplies. One server facility that we had ourselves, they didn't really have enough backup in the summer once it was found, and the owner of that server system near the M4 in Reading was running around trying to find air conditioning systems to actually cool down servers that were getting too hot because the air conditioning packed up and they didn't have a redundant power supply. They do now. It's astonishing to me that they haven't prepared for this sort of thing. One funny point, Alice, I thought you'd find interesting is at the moment they're diverting. When you say 1,300 flights, some of these flights are massive. They're coming in from America and China and Japan, and these are big jumbo jets, and so they're sending some of these craft to places like Gatwick. Okay, fair enough. Charles de Gaulle in Paris, they can handle it. Shannon in Ireland. So
nice.
You're in
International
Ireland.
Airport.
Yeah,
we're there for Shannon.
I get this idea. Can you imagine you're sitting there in Shannon and you're going to a little trip to France or something, and you watch 50 jumbo jets landing and everyone queuing at the coffee shop.
That'd be great,
anyway.
Yeah. I think it would be lovely. Little
big
holiday in the
Shannon.
west of Ireland. There's pros and cons.
Anyway, we've got some more serious things to discuss. But before that, it's time for our Guilty Pleasure Online. It's one of the Partridge family. It's my daughter Alice Taylor on the Guilty Pleasure Online block today. Alice, what is your Guilty Pleasure Online?
This week, my Guilty Pleasure Online is Ramadan cat talk. So let me explain this kind of story. So the algorithm sent me this way because I came across a video of a non-Muslim person, quite like myself, young woman, who was like, I've ended up on Ramadan Talk and I'm really getting into it. I don't know how, but it's like, I'm really forgetting that I'm not a Muslim. I'm like, God, the times for Ramadan, for iftar this year, absolutely great. It's such a good year. And I'm really I watched that video and was like, oh, that's quite funny. And then I got more and more Ramadan Talk, which is hilarious and just so amazing. It's like there's
this is like TikTok, but
a
Ramadan
part of TikTok that is about Ramadan. So for
and
example,
it's targeting the Muslim community.
It's like the demographic that would normally be watching it is people who are Muslims, but it's kind of seems to have broadened out. I don't know if it's just this year or just so for example, people message an imam saying, is it haram to play Beyblades? Is it haram for my character in Minecraft to eat pork in the game?
Ooh.
Not a very straightforward answer.
What was the answer to that?
Well, it's not haram to play Beyblades. It's not haram to play with Lego. It isn't haram, but it's not recommended to pray in the club.
Oh, right.
The Minecraft pork thing, that was complicated. He was like, I don't want to say no, because then everyone will be like, oh, this crazy religion where they're not even allowed to eat pork in a game. But, if you do it sensitively, if it's just for the health of your character, then go for it.
I'm intrigued by this, Alice.
Where
don't
do
you
the
think,
cats
Emily?
come in, Alice?
I want both of those.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
I'm interested in this because what we had with the banning of TikTok, and I still don't know where we are because I think that was suspended in America, leading to a sort of breakdown of culture and norms, which is, and I think your question about the cat is absolutely pertinent here. But that we're actually hearing different communities not only talking to each other, but other communities coming and stalking and lurking, and sort of
stalking and lurking, but also learning and also being like, oh, it's just it's just people having fun. There's like a meme that is famous of like someone asking a sheikh, is it allowed? I've broken my fast because I tripped over and a slice of apple and a piece of shawarma with a little bit of tahini and 2 liters of water just fell into my mouth. Has Allah
I love this.
fed me?
Emily, in our Partridge Family enthusiasm, we both tumbled over each other in questioning there. Back to your serious cat question.
Yes, so where do the cats fit into Ramadan
That's a really
Talk?
good question. So the cats fit into Ramadan Talk because Muslim owners of cats will feel, they get up at 4 to have their suhoor, breaking their fast before the sun rises, and the cat is awake because 4 a.m. is prime cat time, and the cat's there like, what are you all doing awake in
we're
my
seeing
house?
A beautiful
and
cat.
Eating stuff.
Yeah, they film the cats. And
the cat's reaction.
A part of the, they break the fast as well.
Oh,
So-
wonderful.
Thank you very much for your guilty pleasure online this week.
Yeah.
Moving on, this week, the BBC World Service programme. This is interesting because it's all about smartphones and young people. I was caught by this because I'd read an article earlier in the Oxford Mail, which we get delivered as supporters of local journalism, about sort of the advocating banning smartphones in schools. And I thought this is really kind of ramping up at the moment. People feel something needs to happen and they don't know what. But on the BBC World Service, the 5th floor, they discussed the shocking idea, I think, of going on holiday without a phone, citing digital detox benefits. They sort of thought of this as a sort of digital is something that you deny yourself, a bit like Ramadan, for a while to sort of detox yourself, with holidaymakers reporting feeling more present and engaged during their holidays. But it does have an impact on things like the practicalities of managing a holiday, trip planning, memorizing essential information, and just arranging things. And also considerable navigating challenges as you get to airports and you arrive at places and you want everything is geared up for at least one of your party having a phone. Now, Alice, what do you think about the idea of banning phones on holiday?
Virtue signalling rubbish is my view. So I think culturally, we have a great big thing happening at the moment, particularly with young people and children, and parents really wanting a measure of feeling in control of the crisis of, online safety for children just being a total mess. They want to feel like they're in control, and they want to show the world and other parents that they are doing something. And banning screen time for children is a very visual way of demonstrating this. I'm in control of my children and their mental health and their access to the internet. We ban screens. And I think we also have a very kind of shame-based culture around using screens. And, we were watching The Apprentice yesterday, and there's a challenge of, make a corporate away day for a company. And, so one of the teams welcome their corporate away day clients on their tour of Turkey, and it's like, okay guys, hi, so number one, please, phones away. We want you to be really present during this and no looking at your screens. And all of the corporate clients are just like, what? It's like a punishment. And all of them start saying things like, we're not primary school children, we don't, you're treating us like children. And I think, I'm sure there's a take to it of,
yes,
if you are.
Thank you, Emily. We rant about Oxford City Council, Oxford County Council, virtual signalling, load of old crap that's just completely unworkable in our city. But we're bound to say that because we work in our city, we live in our city. They are advocating a ban on smartphones in all primary and secondary schools, citing concerns about the negative impact on students' health, sleep and focus. Now, we are researchers, so we like the data to speak to us. This plea is part of a wider conversation about the potential benefits of reducing digital distractions in schools, even as the national studies suggest banning phones alone may not drastically improve academic outcomes. So here we are. We've got this virtual signal worthy, let's just ban things because they sound scary. Let's ban TikTok in the United States because people are online all the time. Let's just sort of cite tropes about what people do on their phones. Whereas the evidence is showing that further research is needed. And the government are now sort of watering down these sort of...
Yes, it was interesting that the government, there was a bill to ban phones in school, and that did end up watered down. I'm really not sure what I think about this, and probably because I'm quite susceptible to any guilt-based type of things or virtue signalling. I wouldn't like to go on holiday without my phone. I'd feel incredibly vulnerable without my phone. But just thinking about it, I would feel vulnerable in the travel bit. And there is something about... So I usually delete my email app during my holidays to try and wean myself off forever checking my emails. And I know myself that I can just disappear into my phone, and it's not great for being present, and I would like to be less dependent on my phone. So I can really see it. I think any sort of coercive type of approach for adults is you then get subversion and kickback. What
I think is quite interesting, because I'm a speech and language therapist, is that there's a thing called the deprivation of liberty safeguard. So if someone is very, very poorly, often with mental illness, and they can't make decisions in their best interest, there is a safeguard approach. So if you need to tie someone to a bed, not that that's really done much anymore, or put rails on their bed to protect them from falling out, you're depriving them of a liberty, so you have to do it in a safe way. Taking someone's phone away or restricting social media access is considered a deprivation of liberty, and to do it, you have to put this in place. And I think, to me, it's really interesting, because having studied childhood and research and the lack of evidence about phones, to me, banning phones, banning screen time, is the same as trying to do sex education by teaching abstinence. Yeah. It's like just we don't talk about this, we don't think about it. And actually,
well, isn't that where Trump's going? Isn't that where the voters are going? Aren't they actually saying, no, we need to just stop all of this?
I mean, if you want abstinence culture, sure, it leads to more teenage pregnancies.
Yes.
And I think
less help.
Less help. And actually, if let's say, okay, we want to do a complete ban on screens for children, you need to really think about this, because what you're asking of parents is not just no screens for your children, but you can never use a screen in front of them because that will tempt them. You can't do working from home, you can't check your emails, you can't use social media. And that's just not the world we live in anymore.
But Emily, isn't this just all rubbish? You know, I went to school. The issue wasn't phones, because we didn't have phones. A telephone was like this big and with lots of wires, and you'd sit on the stairs and borrow the phone for a while and sit there. And people would say, "When are you getting off the phone?" Because we had one phone. You'd never take it to school. But cigarettes were banned at school, and we just smoked all the time. You know, our break time from the age of 11 was our cigarette break. I mean, they were banned, but it meant absolutely nothing, because the teachers would have a break at break time as well. Are we really? I mean, are we thinking that the young people are stupid?
I think I agree with Alice and with you that the sort of abstinence culture is, it's a panic reaction, basically, isn't it? Whereas
let's do something.
You know, the analogy, the famous analogy that policymakers use is, this is usually Americans because they all have a swimming pool. If you have a swimming pool in your back garden and you have toddlers, do you lock the doors and windows so that nobody can use the swimming pool, so that your toddler doesn't drown tragically in the swimming pool? Or do you teach your toddler to swim? And I think digital literacy, how to cope with the online environment. One thing I do think, though, is the ultra-libertarianism that was probably dominant maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, and this
now
was Roblox as well. Roblox were in the news this week because the CEO said, if you want your children to be safe online, don't let them go online.
Right.
Which actually, for for a company that are quite sensitive about child online safety, it seems like a very, there's nothing we can do about it ism, which I think is not true. In Finland, there is lots of digital media literacy from, kindergarten reception age right through secondary school. And where is that in this country?
And they're saying that the dialogue now is moving towards and emphasising the importance of creating balanced strategies involving schools, parents and policymakers, which are all just more consulting, more resources to do that. So fascinating discussion. Thank you very much. It's time for our Tech Room 101. I was looking with excitement at the screen there to see the new animation, because I've had some prequels of a new Tech Room 101 animation,
not this week.
But it's still in the cutting room. It's still being refined and polished. It's my Tech Room 101, and I'm going to give a prequel to my
Shall
shopping
I ask
online.
You, Lucian Taylor, what is your Tech Room 101?
Thank you very much. It is the potential that the Postal Service has wasted in trying to fight the DHLs and the other commercial postal services. What a sad sack of response that organisation. You've got the crimes they've committed against post office staff, and I know they're not connected, but they come from that same tired old culture. And you've got the post office workers. I really feel for them, and I like our workers, but they've been drained of resources. And for the last 2 weeks, I've tried to post a letter. I'm going to go on about
How's
it.
How's that going for you, Lucy?
Oh, it's gone really well, because I've just given up on putting a letter in one of those. Do you remember them? They were like a red.
They're
a red
post letter, Alice.
Well, if I'm forced to kind of to get a passport, that is the threshold. That is required for me to want
sending a card to somebody, Christmas cards,
not very good,
birthday cards.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into this too much, because this is an exciting drama. Please watch Shopping Seriously after this
a nice
show,
trailer,
because actually I will be covering that saga in more detail. But I want to just put the entire postal service into our Room 101. Sorry, mates, you've lost. It reminds me of, we work next to the BMW factory. Leyland was great. The former car plant was great. They had all the potential. Britain had the brand, British cars. Their cars were crap, needed modernising. The unions wouldn't work with them. The managers wouldn't work with the unions. whatever it was, the Germans came in and just went, sod all that, we're just making something wonderful. And they just installed Mini there. They took a great British icon brand and they did what we should have been able to do. And here you see the Postal Service, again, the Germans, DHL, they've come in, they're just dealing with urgent post themselves.
So what's this got to do with the internet?
Yeah, I was wondering the tech aspect.
Yeah. It's huge.
I was wondering.
They haven't teched up. They haven't actually embraced this. They've tried to go,
it's a bit like our previous conversation, isn't it? Don't do this, do posting letters. We will be fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Out. Yeah, well, there's my little trailer. Our last topic today, Alice, you were really pushing on this, and I think this is a really interesting one. The more I think about it, the more fascinating it is. But the TV series Adolescence has attracted comments from the Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Parliament as well. It's shining a light on online misogyny and the manosphere impact on British teenagers. Just before you really go into what I know you want to talk about, what does it mean, the manosphere, and what is shining a light on online misogyny? What?
So my view and the view of a lot of other people is that the misogyny is actually, it's a symptom, it's not a cause, it's the product of how we've trivialized the very real problems and disenfranchisement of young people. And, you think about if you're a 10 to 14-year-old in Britain today, you were born into chaos. You've had Brexit, you've had the pandemic, you've had austerity, inflation like we've never had before, 12 years of the Tories, stripping schools and the NHS and all public services of functioning. And you're living in this chaos world. The pandemic as well has had a huge impact on children and young people. We have been trivializing young people and their problems for, since time began.
Who's we?
Every society. It's very normal.
So it's
and
not
particularly
a now thing, it's an
not
always
a now
thing.
But we've got social media now, and social media has been trivialized. It's silly, the use of emojis. And so there's a lot of very angry young people, and for boys, they've got they've got opportunists like Andrew Tate, Trump, Musk, Russell Brand, Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who have swooped in and taken this disenfranchised, angry, very angry group, and they have given them one simple truth, which is women are the cause of all your problems.
Right.
That is the manosphere. That is the principal belief of the manosphere. And
why is that an easy target? Why is that a target that they've chosen?
Because they are angry, they are disenfranchised, and this is an answer that's very simple for them. And we have seen,
I mean, Emily, aren't they picking on weaklings?
Well, I was just thinking as you were speaking,
if you're a bully,
Alice,
you always get the ones who...
A hallmark of any kind of extremism is, first of all, let's go after the women. Yeah. Let's either disenfranchise them, prevent them from being educated, prevent them from
Margaret Atwood, put them in
either
gowns, cover their faces.
The villains.
Yes, and so and you take out half of the population. It's also the tactic of the populist, the extremist, is to go, I know you're angry, and you know what? It's somebody else's fault.
So Alice, Adolescence, a TV series, 2025 British drama crime mini-series that follows a 13-year-old, and it's been praised for its gripping storytelling. What is it about this TV series that is saying more, or has made it the focal point for this huge discussion which actually is happening in all walks of life?
So I think there's two things about Adolescence. Firstly, the quality of the TV show. It has been described as like the best TV show ever that we've had for decades.
It's got a 99% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes with an average rate of 9.2 out of 10. That's high.
Pretty amazing.
And we've got the Prime Minister talking about it. So what's incredible?
What's so good about it?
So it's 4 episodes, each an hour long. All of them, so each one is filmed in one take. Not edited to look like it was filmed in one take.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 1917 was a purported to be a single shot. They did have a couple of cutaways.
Like
but it was very innovative.
Filmed over
at that time,
filmed over
and
many
it's
months.
really incredible to watch because the first episode covers the arrest of this 13-year-old. So it takes you on this story in real time for an hour of just a family, and the police come into their house with guns, and they're all, you know, done up, and they're like, get on the floor, where's your son? And they arrest this 13-year-old, and you're like, he's just a little boy. What do they do? And the family is so shocked, and they just have no idea. And, you know, and you follow him, they drive to the police station, all the waiting, all the kind of taking of his blood and DNA, and slowly they unfurl this journey. And by the end of the first episode, you watch the CCTV of him stabbing a girl to death.
No.
And he is a murderer. And it's like, so they said it's not a whodunit, it's a why done it.
And
the why is the manosphere. And so I've just seen the first 2 episodes, and the second episode I thought was fascinating because it's in the school that the boy went to, and you get such an interesting snapshot of just how terrible schools are in Britain.
This is like a cauldron, isn't it? Because we've been getting more and more online shootings, and they say they're coming from this culture, which is, I don't think because of the internet, it's amplified by the hyperscaling,
it's
communicating,
and often exploited by, as you said, there are people who are sort of tuned into that anger. And are able to exploit it and stoke it rather than trying to understand it and defuse it.
So there's a couple of points that you made, Alice. One is that, again, you get a piece of art, and we saw it with the dreadful post office scandal, where you saw a piece of art, a program.
It gets people talking.
Well, actually, you know, doing what the politicians are meant to do, you know, and the critical role of the creator, of the artist, using innovative techniques. I'm a big fan. We were talking to Kit Boga, weren't we, a month or 2 ago, about improvisation techniques and how that makes things. I mean, I know as a former actor that improvisation is very powerful. It
feels so improvisation because it's happening in real time, and there's and it's like, this is what life, this is what it would be like in life to, you know, be taken from your house into a prison cell.
I agree with you, Luce, about the power of art to drive a conversation. So the post office scandal had actually been known about for nearly 20 years, or maybe well over 10 years, had been discussed in Parliament. Everybody knew it was a scandal, but it really wasn't until that TV drama starring Toby Jones was aired that it
scandal.
Really got people here.
Really
it got people in their emotions, and there's a long history of that. I mean, Charles Dickens' Bleak House actually prompted huge reforms of the legal system because of the Jarndyce and the law and the Court of Equity.
Wasn't that a 100-year-old court case?
It was a court case that nobody could remember the beginning of, and it was about a will, and it had gone on and on and on. But it was so true to life that everyone's like, "Come on, this is ridiculous."
And one point also, Emily, was back to the research. A study by the University of York has found that 90% of school teachers, huge amount, 68% of primary school teachers, feel that their own schools would benefit from teaching materials addressing misogyny, highlighting concerns about the manosphere's impact on youth. So it does seem to be something that...
Well, I've worked in a primary school. I was a speech therapist, you know, going to see school-aged children. It's just chaos, and it's not just the internet. The internet is the thing that has amplified these malign, you know, people who have this harmful narrative. But the narrative is it's a product of schools just being a bit of a mess at the moment.
Thank you for that, Alice, and hopefully the internet can also amplify kind talk and solutions and empathy, and amplify the teaching materials that obviously needs to happen as a matter of urgency. Another fascinating one before we go, it's our comment of the week. God, voice of God. What do we have this week?
Yes, well, we have a very nice comment. This is in response to last week's episode where Kieren was talking about ChatGPT stealing everyone's intellectual property. And we got a wonderful comment from David Miller 1376, who said, "The argument of copyright isn't copyright is absurd. AI model owners either have to represent copyright owners and pay them accordingly, or pay to go behind the paywalls to the content to get access to the content, just like everyone else."
Yeah,
David, thank you very much for that comment.
David Miller,
David Miller,
1376.
Yes, great comment and great point. And this is, I completely agree with you. It's not about should copyright exist. It's just like it does, and it's also part of addressing the imbalance in society. You know, if you're a content creator, it costs a lot. You often don't get rewarded. Why should somebody be able to take your work for free and not reward you? I'm sure that where we are heading is, and I hope that where we are heading is a fair reward system for content creators. Because we all have an interest in AI models being fed on good stuff, not rubbish.
I do have a funny story. A friend of mine who's fighting a case in the trademark court has just hired a barrister because it's getting quite late in the fight. And like Jarndyce and Jarndyce, these things do go on for years and years, especially if one side is prevaricating and doesn't actually want it to go to court. Anyway, the new barrister, she asked him, "Who's been doing your very, very good legal work up until that point?" And guess what his answer was, Alice?
Was it ChatGPT?
Yes. He's been fighting a 2-year court case on using
ChatGPT's passed, bar exams. So
has it really?
It's qualified.
Yes,
Wow.
I mean, Emily, you're a former lawyer, so I'm not going to be rude to your profession. But
why not?
Would we be sad to see all of the legal content creators not there anymore? Well, answers on a postcard. We'd like to hear your comments. Thank you very much.
Lawyers are very misunderstood.
Very, very
and
misunderstood.
very sensitive people.
Who's thinking of the lawyers,
How
Bob?
about the lawyers, huh? Who's looking after them?
We owe somebody some money for paraphrasing that movie. Heathrow is broken. A fire in a power station 7 miles away is disrupting 1,300 flights today. It's going to disrupt the country for over a week, including friends of ours who are trying to fly into this country for a conference next week. We've been discussing the idea raised by the BBC World Service's The Fifth Floor of going on holiday without your phone, and kind of in that vein, Alice was talking to us about Adolescence, the TV series that's shining a light on online misogyny and the manosphere's impact on British teenagers, and how more education, more materials are badly needed. Thank you very much.